Just a year ago, we met in Antwerp in our 22nd TCI Global Conference. What a great conference. Conferences have been a big part of our life in TCI network. Actually, it all started with a conference back in 1998. Since then, every year, the Global Conference is our annual place to reconnect. It gives us a chance to share our ideas, stories, and experiences, and to learn from peers who face the same challenges every day. We also make new connections that keep us energized and motivated, and we catch up with our friends and we have fun together. Today we gather again in this 2020 TCI Global Conference, the number 23, with the best of the TCI network in a virtual format. We have 2 days ahead to examine our changed world and see how clusters and innovation ecosystems are driving a new, better normal. More than 40 speakers will share with us their cluster story, their strategies for transformation, from Detroit to Taiwan, from Iceland to South Africa. And we also plan to have fun at the end of the 2 days in our global networking and the happy hour. So here we go. Welcome to the TCI 2020 Global Conference. With us, our TCI president, Merete Nielsen, with her opening words to the TCI network. Hello, Merete. Welcome.
Hello, Patricia. Great to be with you today, and what a nice start to the conference. So a big warm welcome from my side to all of you to the first ever digital global conference. Of course, it could have been great to meet all of you in person, as we love to do in TCI, so we can network and share and ask all the questions we have for this very special year, where there's so many open questions and where we're looking for answers. But we have gone digital for this year to make it possible for even more people to join around the world. I will still encourage you to tap into the DNA of TCI about networking, about knowledge sharing, about learning from each other. This is how TCI Network was started 23 years ago, and this is still our DNA as we engage with our 9,000 experts around the world in 110 countries, digital or not. In March, our global community went online. We met many times since then, gathering thousands of experts and practitioners globally that share all the same ambition, that we want to improve and strengthen our societies and businesses to a more sustainable, inclusive world by the use of clustering. A very special big thank to all of you, all the members, everybody supporting that journey in sharing your stories, helping to share best practices and your advice on how to move forward. I know each of you have been very busy helping your companies, your ecosystem, supporting politicians and policymakers to taking tough and even impossible decisions. And vice versa, it's been great to see that joint journey where many policymakers reach out and joined cluster initiatives and collaborated with them in taking those decisions. All in all, for me, this has really shown in reality the strength in clusters and the potential in cluster-based competitive work. And by sharing your insights and expertise, this has helped other experts to grow their knowledge, and together we've been able to lift our capabilities. The next slide, please. And based on your willingness to share, we have been able to outline a path to recovery by a guide for economic development organizations and cluster organizations that we launched in June. We wanted to make an easy-to-use guide outlining a 3-phase model and where we gathered a lot of best practices, how clusters had helped in that recovery process. Hundreds had already downloaded and used the TCI recovery playbook, both during the first crisis and as we lived through the pandemic. We can see now that many are starting to reignite their economy with new strategies and new actions. The recovery model and inspiring cases coming from all corners of the world have been shared and discussed in cluster communities in Latin America, Oceania, Asia, and Europe to set new paths for recovery. This is still open for download and don't hesitate to use it. Today we take a next step. We want to explore how clusters can help to drive us to a new, better normal. I can see my slides are a bit ahead of me, but it's okay. We want to move ahead for a new, better normal quite fast. For us, a core question in the times of crisis is, of course, is there room for change? Is there room for transformation and innovation? And especially for the green transition that I know is close at heart for many of you joining us today. And especially for our companies, the small SMEs that have even more need for the right skills, the right knowledge, the test beds, the innovations, and the funding to get this going. During September, TCI Network asked our members how this highly interesting question, can the green transition be a way of reigniting growth for companies? First of all that responded said that clusters focus now on green transition. It's a very integrated way of running a cluster. Second of all, we can see that the interest is still very high. So this is the right slide here, that almost 90% actually maintained or even increased the focus on sustainability despite the crisis we're seeing. I think that's super positive and very interesting to build upon. So the next one, please, is that of course, it's always interesting to see what is the impact of the cluster work on the green transition in your companies. The clusters responding that new knowledge is what the companies are really looking for. They want to know more about this transition to get it going, but they also need new competences among the members and their companies to get it going. So upskilling and reskilling is also a service in the cluster organization that is very high need. And very positively, also, new products and new processes have been something that the companies have asking the clusters about. Then in April, we asked about the services in the cluster organization, how they've changed. And this is the right slide. So the feedback is that many of the classic services in clusters are really high on the agenda. It's a lot about community building, of course, because we want to gather in our ecosystems. We want to engage with our companies in these times of crisis. It's also been a lot of very early on business development, trying to help the companies to reorient, to find new possibilities and options. And then also very positive seeing that regional development and supporting policymakers in those difficult decisions has also grown a lot in the early phases back in April. But also innovation, and that was very high, or very interesting to see that was also something that the companies wanted from their clusters. So next slide, please. So asking the same question now in September, and again, thanks for the ones taking the time to respond. Now digitalization really moved up on the priorities. So digitalization is really by far the most wanted services that companies are expecting now from cluster initiatives. Still, community building is also important, and we can still see that R&D and innovation and business development are services that the companies want from the clusters. But digitalization, by far, the topic that the most are looking for. So across all our webinars and discussions and the surveys and the TCI Recovery Playbook, one thing has become very, very clear, how strong and important the cluster tool are. they or you have responded on time with new initiatives and implemented them overnight, often based more on gut feelings than on long analysis on the right actions. The capacity for handling has shown the utmost importance of courage and leadership, and how each of the clusters interact with their members in a timely and relevant manner. So well done. So, and the final slide. So now the next difficult phase for all of us is, of course, to set new policy targets and goals. So a core question now for this conference is how to define a new better normal, how to move ahead. How do we get there? What kind of policy instruments is needed? What kind of policy decisions do we need to take? We have seen leading regions and countries taking the crisis very seriously, discussed those difficult questions. Some have managed to set up new policies and strategies very early on. We have invited quite many of them to this conference to share their visions, their strategies, their actions, their initiatives on how to drive forward to a new, better normal by the use of clustering and competitiveness. So with these welcoming words to the first ever digital TCI Conference 2020, I welcome you all. I hope you will enjoy, and I also really hope you will engage as much as possible. This is how we will all make the best of this conference. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Merete. Great words, great president that we have. Let me now make a virtual tour through our participants. We have a global audience with participants from 42 countries. More than 150 of you registered, so nice to see so many of you connected today. And very kind regards also to those of you who will follow us at different times, taking advantage of this virtual setting. We hope you all enjoy this conference. A warm welcome to TCI chapters, TCI Oceania, Australia, New Zealand, TCI Asia, Japan, Taiwan, Korea, Mongolia, Thailand. I know for most of you it's very late, so double thanks for being here with us. Also places where we don't have a chapter yet, but very glad to count with participants from South Africa, Botswana, Ethiopia, Egypt, Emirates, the US, Canada, even Alaska. And of course, a very warm welcome to participants from our most represented regions, Europe and Latin America. As for your daily responsibilities, half of you, 50% of our audience, you lead a cluster program or a cluster portfolio at the local, regional, and national level. And you have responsibility in designing and implementing a cluster support program. The second group in our audience today, 25% of you are cluster managers. You are in charge of the development of the cluster, you set the strategy and you put in place an action plan, and you mobilize a big amount of cluster members with an impact in your innovation ecosystem. So together you all reach to nearly 4,000 companies. And the third group, about 10% of our audience is consulting companies, and you help clusters and cluster teams to perform better. Let's go now a virtual tour through the platform. You will see there is on the top in the menu where it says main room. This is where we are now. And there are some other buttons, conversations and global networking. They are not active yet. They are different rooms that will get active as we move ahead in the program. And I will guide you on when we need to move there. Yeah. On the right side of the menu, if you are having any problems with the platform, you can always contact our technical support by email or WhatsApp if you use that messaging system. And on the right of the main screen where you are getting me now, that is the main room, you can see two interactive boxes. I see one of them, you're already using it. It's the tab with the Q&A section. It's a text box, but we will use it as a chat, you know, so you can use it in a broader way to make comments, questions, of course, also to share your information, your references, your links. to send your hellos to friends, as I see you are already doing, and all participants can see what the others are texting. Okay, although it says ask a speaker, it's open to everyone. And the second tab, the poll function, that we will use it along the conference, as we want to know your opinion in some key questions around clustering in this new normal, and we will start using it right now. Here we launch the first live question to our TCI community. What is the one thing that clusters have brought to recovery? And you have 4 options here to choose. The first one is excellent support to manage the crisis during lockdown. The second one is important collective intelligence from the ecosystem to be built into policy. Rethinking business models and new possibilities for cluster members, and initiating rapid, innovative solutions overnight. Okay, I see you're already voting there. The results show up as you write your answers. And it seems that rethinking business models and new possibilities for cluster members is the winner. We have 44 of you. Let's wait a little bit more. Questions come and go. Excellent. Thank you all. Thank you all for sharing with us what you think is the one thing that clusters have brought to recovery. Rethinking business models and new possibilities for cluster members. There we are. We're going to talk about all this later on.